Sonic the Hedgehog meets Kingdom Hearts, two of my favourite gaming franchises of all time. Sora, the Keyblade's Chosen, and Sonic, the fastest thing alive. Despite their immense popularity, these two gaming juggernauts have rarely ever interacted. I mean, sure, there was that time they met up and threw hands in Smash Bros, but so did practically the entire gaming industry. I'm talking about a proper, true blue crossover. And the best way that would make sense is if Sora visited Sonic's world. Now, am I saying that this will ever happen? Almost certainly not. Would it be absolutely awesome to see? 100%. Seeing a Kingdom Hearts game where Sora crosses over with other various gaming franchises rather than just Disney movies would be amazing to see. Think about the different worlds he could explore. Nintendo properties like Pokemon and Zelda, modern AAA games like God of War or Horizon Zero Dawn, or even classic platformers just like, Spyro or Crash. I think there's a huge amount of potential there. But what would we expect to see if Sora did actually fly the gummy ship over to the Sonic world of Mobius, or Earth, or whatever Sonic wants to call it that week? I've come up with a few different pitches for how I could see Sora joining forces with the Blue Blur himself. So stick around to see each pitch, and once you're done watching, check out the most recent post on my channel to cast your vote on which pitch you want to see the most. This is, what if Sonic was in Kingdom Hearts? Our first point of interest is to establish when this would all take place. Realistically, I would imagine if this ever came to fruition, it would be its own game, dedicated to Sora and friends visiting multiple gaming worlds. But that's a little bit outside the scope of this video, so we're going to scale it back a bit. For this video, we're going to assume that this world would have appeared at some point during the events of Kingdom Hearts 3. The Kingdom Hearts 3 art style would lend itself very nicely to Sonic, and honestly it gives us a lot more freedom with which games to choose from. If we go back to the release of Kingdom Hearts 2 back in 2005, then our most recent 3D Sonic game would have been either Shadow the Hedgehog, releasing only about a month before Kingdom Hearts 2, or Sonic Heroes. Personally, I think the games post Sonic 06 would work best within Kingdom Hearts, but admittedly that could just be my bias towards that era of Sonic slipping through. If you guys have any pitches for some of those other older games in Kingdom Hearts, or any other crossover for that matter, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. Before we get into it as well, I am also aware of the official Keyblade design made for Sonic. However, for the sake of this video, I'm going to ignore it. It's a decent design, however, I don't think it would necessarily work for all of the ideas that I have here. It's more so a generic Sonic Keyblade, whereas the Keyblades I propose in this video will be more closely tied to their specific game world. Jumping right into pitch number 1, we have Sonic Unleashed. A quick rundown on the plot if you're not aware. It essentially sees Eggman awakening an entity within the planet known as Dark Gaia. This splinters the Earth and causes untold chaos. Sonic and then his buddy Chip, who is later revealed to be Light Gaia, travel around the world, restoring the Chaos Emeralds and the planet before climaxing in almost a Megazord super form team up against Dark Gaia. I think Sonic Unleashed has a lot of potential for a Kingdom Hearts world. I could very easily see a situation where the trio Sora, Donald and Goofy are traveling past the planet and see it getting split from Eggman's attack. The planet then becomes surrounded by darkness and the trio then decide to descend down and try and help out best they can. Think about it, the enemies you fight throughout Sonic Unleashed could combine with the Heartless or Unversed to create unique world enemies for Sora. Even Dark Gaia itself could have some very interesting lore implications for the Kingdom Hearts universe, being essentially a dark manifestation of the world's heart. There could be a lot of symmetry between Light/Dark Gaia and Ventus/Vanitas, for example. Speaking of Vanitas, in all of the Disney worlds of Kingdom Hearts 3, there is always an organization member who comes and harasses the trio. Keeping with that trope, the question arises on who would be the organization member for Sonic's world. Well, I've narrowed it down to 2. The first is, of course, as mentioned, Vanitas, literally a being of darkness split from his light half counterpart. It's very easy to see the resemblance between himself and Dark Gaia. Dark Gaia even messes with people's negative emotions, the same thing that literally feeds Vanitas' power and the Unversed. The downside of using Vanitas, however, is that he already appeared in Monsters Inc.'s world of Monstropolis. So here's our other option. Preferably someone who could still relate to the plot of the game, but who didn't already appear in a world. Well, what if I told you there was an organization member who was associated with the color blue and utilized the power of the moon and night? I am of course referring to our blue-haired friend, Saïx. Where Vanitas would relate metaphorically to Dark Gaia, Saïx would much more closely relate to Sonic himself. As previously noted, Sonic throughout the game transforms into his werehog persona when the day ends, becoming a much more ruthless and berserk fighter, obviously sharing similarities with a werewolf. So we have our premise, our enemies, and even our organization member. But what about the world itself? What levels would we explore? The two that spring to mind immediately would be Apatos, the Greek introduction area that bears a striking similarity to Scarlet Egg Kylam, and Spagonia, arguably the most iconic and recognisable level within Sonic Unleashed. And to me, both would make a lot of sense. Imagine the trio roaming around, platforming up and around buildings with flow motion, fighting off Heartless. In my mind, these just work. The other level that could also work would be Eggman Land. The Eggman robots would make for a nice bit of enemy variety that we don't get too often in the Kingdom Hearts games. The main reason I would want to see Eggman Land appear though, is for the finale of the game. Sora teaming up with Sonic and Chip to take on Dark Gaia. Maybe we'd even see Super Sora, utilising the power of the Chaos Emeralds in conjunction with the Keyblade. Now that is a world boss I'd love to see. And of course, last but certainly not least, we have the reward for completing the world. What would the Keyblade be? I personally think the Keyblade would reflect Sonic himself. Bright blues, perhaps the quills would form the teeth of the Keyblade, or maybe a Chaos Emerald, just something that would capture Sonic's essence. What I'd love to see though, would be its Keyblade transformations. Its first level would turn into claws, just like the transformations from Monstropolis and Arendelle. These would reflect the Werehog's transformation, switching the colour scheme from blue to purple and becoming much more aggressive. The claws could even stretch just like Sonic's arms in the Werehog form. Moving on to the second transformation, it would either deepen its connection with the Werehog, unlocking an Unleashed mode, or would instead become golden, resembling Sonic's super form. I think both ideas would work, and they'd be awesome to see. A nice send-off would also be if you could summon Chip as a companion in later worlds, probably healing or protecting you with Green Gaia energy. And moving on to our next pitch, we have Sonic Colors. You can't tell me that Sora wouldn't drop everything to go and visit an interstellar amusement park. I could just imagine the cutscene now. Sora begging to go, and Donald saying they don't have time for theme parks. Even the little planet icons from Sonic Colors would work perfectly for the miniaturized world we fly to in the Gummy Ship. The question just becomes, which world would we visit? Honestly, pretty much any of them could work since they all share the same premise of saving the Wisps. But my three personal picks would be Planet Wisp, Tropical Resort, or potentially even Sweet Mountain. All three would be very interesting to see explored in a Kingdom Hearts style world. Sora would team up with Sonic and Tails as they go through each level, freeing as many Wisps as possible, culminating of course in a fight with Dr. Eggman. I imagine the organisation would visit the planet in search of researching the Wisp's power, perhaps attaching them to Heartless to create new enemy types. Different enemies could be based on each Wisp. The Cyan Lightning Wisps could create fast zipping Heartless, and the Blue Block Wisps could replace the classic large body Heartless as well. There could be a lot of interesting and unique enemy variety across the world. As for our organisation member, I would probably associate either Marluxia or Luxord with this world, given Marluxia's connection to flowers and nature, or Luxord's connection to card games. I'll admit neither option is super great, but even in the main game, not every world's organisation member matched up super nicely. Moving back to Sonic. After completing the world and defeating Eggman, I think it's a given that the Keyblade would have to be Wisp related. At first it would probably resemble Sonic, with some design flair similar to the White Wisps. But after transforming, I'm imagining it taking on multiple shifting forms, just like the Big Hero 6 Keyblade. Each form would be represented by a different Wisp colour and would utilise their abilities differently. Trying to hit an enemy from a distance, it might change to dual guns that shoot lightning cyan Wisp energy. Coming to the end of a combo, what about a hammer with a blue block Wisp as its head to weigh down that final hit? The possibilities with this one truly feel endless. As for a potential summon, it would be cruel not to give it to the lovable White Wisp Yakka. I mean, just look at the guy. I imagine he would probably refill the MP gauge consistently, allowing Sora to better utilise his magic abilities. And moving on to the final idea I had for a Sonic themed Kingdom Hearts world, and this might be a little bit of a wild pick, I'm going with the world of King Arthur, explored in Sonic and the Black Knight. I would explore this world in a similar way the franchise has dealt with Winnie the Pooh. It would take place within an actual book that Sora would immerse himself in. I can just imagine Sora and Sonic fighting side by side with their magical blades against hordes of armoured Heartless, or a boss fight against a Heartless dragon. You'd have the town areas as safe hubs, and then venture out into nearby forests, caves, etc. as Sonic and Sora help civilians and attempt to stop King Arthur. I imagine King Arthur would, of course, be amplified by an organisation member. My choice of member would actually be Terranaut, given his connection to the Lingering Will, which is a literal animated suit of armour and does bear a striking resemblance to King Arthur. He also represents a light of good having been corrupted and possessed by darkness, not unlike how King Arthur is meant to be a hero but is instead a dictator for evil in this world. It does mean that the reveal that Terra is one of the 13 in the Keyblade graveyard wouldn't make as much sense, but honestly, Sora doesn't even know who Terra is at this point, so if the scene is kept in, it would just be more of Mickey and the rest of the cast confirming Sora's events from earlier. Mickey even says,
"He is their 13th!"
implying they already thought about it as a possibility. Another option would just be to not have any organization member, since this would take place within a book like the 100 Acre Woods. It would be especially interesting to relate Kingdom Hearts with the Black Knight story, as they refer to Merlin as someone who is no longer around, and it's his granddaughter Merlina who is the primary wizard. We, of course, know and are indeed friends with Merlin, so perhaps this story would actually connect those 2 points. Merlin might have once used to attend this world, but as he grew older he neglected it, and even a family he started within it. That could be stretching it a bit, but it could also give Merlin a bit more character depth. We're never really given an explanation as to why he has the 100 Acre Woods, or why we are able to enter it as a whole new world, so it would make sense to me that Merlin would have more than just the one story. The world would, of course, conclude with a fight against Melina's Dark Queen form, which by itself already looks like something you'd see in Kingdom Hearts. I mean, you can't tell me that doesn't look like a giant Heartless. As for completing the world, I imagine the Keyblade would have to heavily resemble Caliburn, and, upon transformation, it should then become almost Excalibur-like. The keychain would likely just be a Sonic symbol, as there isn't much recognizable iconography within the Black Knight game. And, of course, it would have to be named Knight of the Wind. The summon is where it gets interesting, as I see a few possibilities here. The first would be to bring in Caliburn, a companion that would fly all around the screen, slashing at enemies before becoming Excalibur temporarily when finishing the summon. Another fun option would be to bring in the other Knights of the Round Table, Lancelot, Gawain, and Percival. I'm not sure if the summon would be all or just one of them, but I think it'd be really cool to see the 3 Knights all in action together. I imagine Lancelot teleporting between enemies, Gawain throwing his swords, and Percival flying around the area in a fiery tornado. And there we have it, my 3 ideas for how Sonic could be a world in Kingdom Hearts. There are, of course, dozens of other ways this could have been done. Exploring the classic era with the Silent Sonic, running around the Space Colony Ark in SA2, or helping to save the world in Sonic Forces. All of which I think could very easily work. However, I think these 3 personally best align with the story Kingdom Hearts 3 was trying to tell. They all play out very easily in my head, from the world you'd explore, the enemies you'd fight, organization members who would appear, and how it plays into the overall narrative of the 3rd game. The Keyblades hold a lot of design and gameplay potential, and I was surprised at how varied each world's Keyblade could be, given they're all based on Sonic. But what did you guys think? Did any of these ideas catch your attention, or did you have a better idea of how you would do a Sonic world in Kingdom Hearts? Let me know in the comments, and while you're down there, also let me know what other franchises you'd like to see explored in Kingdom Hearts. Perhaps we'll turn this into an ongoing series. Until next time, happy animating.